Hey guys, it's Scully. Welcome back. So, in this video, I wanted to talk about something I've been thinking a little bit about lately. I believe it's more common, especially with people with mental illness, than people realize. I think a lot of people are probably familiar with this idea, but they're probably not familiar with the term so much as the definition. Basically, it's called imposter syndrome. What imposter syndrome is, especially with people who have what I have, like bipolar disorder, since it's a disease that's very episodic, can vary by the day, depending on you're having an episode, getting ready to start one, just coming out of one, all that fun stuff. Well, when you're having periods where you're not really having a lot of symptoms, it's easy to accuse yourself of faking your symptoms or maybe even being denial that you even have the condition in general. As with anything, this can occur with other illnesses as well, but with something like bipolar disorder, it's quite common because of its episodic nature. So, what imposter syndrome is basically kind of just that mental, like, kind of when you're not feeling quite as bad, you accuse yourself of not having really been ill in the first place, where you think if you had your symptoms, perhaps you were over embellishing them, making them sound worse than they really were for like attention and things like that, and that's not the case. I think a lot of it is people not only being in denial about their symptoms, but also when other people like family, friends, or just maybe people around them tell them what they're dealing with is no big deal, or even accuse them of not having it at all, though that negativity kind of starts to sink in after a while. So then you kind of start telling yourself, well, maybe they were right. Maybe I didn't have that at all. Maybe I was just faking it, or maybe I really just wanted attention. And it really starts to hurt your self-esteem after a while. So hence the term imposter, meaning like fake, not real, not really there. So that was something I wanted to mention, not only because it's quite common, but I feel like there's a lot of stigma around mental illness as a whole, but especially things like imposter syndrome really feeding into that stigma and that negativity. And it is something that needs to be addressed for that very reason. Because there's no worse feeling than feeling like you have something that's very real that doesn't always feel real to you or doesn't seem real to others. And then you just tend to feel very isolated and feel like you're fighting this big old battle by yourself, and you're like this one-man wolf pack trying to take on the world because you feel like the world is against you. So if you or somebody you know has this has any really kind of mental illness, and you find that this may be a factor in what's helping you or the person get better, really just kind of take some time to just really kind of give yourself some credit, because every day is different for a lot of people regardless as to what you're going through. But everything you're going through is valid just as much as the next person, whether or not they have mental illness or not. I mean, with any other disease, they're taken very seriously. I guess the difference would be that, like, if you have something like diabetes, there's lab work to kind of confirm that you have this illness, medications to treat it, and kind of treatment that's proven to be effective, and for most people, things like that. But with mental illness, a lot of it can be trial and error, like if you're in between finding a diagnosis or finding the right medication, just even after having the right diagnosis, or if you've had to see several doctors, it can be a very long process. Unfortunately, you don't get all the answers as soon as you would expect sometimes. But when you do, it's worth it because you have more effective treatment, you have the right medication, the right doctor. And once everybody kind of gets on board as to what's going on, then hopefully that can kind of lead everybody in the right direction. I think one of the other issues with things like this is that people who are not as very understanding about things, especially with mental illness, really kind of not only taking the time to kind of maybe help them better understand, but also just kind of just educate them on the topic in general. Because if you haven't had something like that very long or haven't been getting treated for it very long, it can take some time to get things right. But then once you finally have the right diagnosis, like depression, it takes time to kind of get everybody else on the same page as well. And it can be a very long process, not only just with finding answers, but just kind of coming to grips with everything, because it is kind of a game changer. And it does take time. It's just really kind of finding, like, everybody, when they get when they go to buy a pair of shoes. Not everybody buys the same pair of shoes that's the same size. It's not one size fits all. It's different for every person. A couple of people can have the same disease in really similar symptoms for the most part too, but the severity can be different. What medication they take to recover can be different. Even the doctors they see can be different. So it's very easy for, especially two people with the same thing, to be compared to one another, but they're not the same person. And things like that, although at times can be helpful in terms of leading you in the right direction, like maybe, okay, disease-wise, finding a diagnosis or a doctor that treats it. Okay, that's understandable. But at the end of the day, we're all different. We're all different people. Even as somebody who's an identical twin, I can tell you, we are all very different people. And that's a good thing. We all go on different journeys. We all go different roads. And at the end of our road, our journey, what's at the end is different for every person as well. And that's okay too. It's what makes life exciting. It's what makes us all unique. And it's what makes life beautiful. And that's just part of our journey of being here. So if you find yourself struggling with things such as this, just know that you're not alone. You don't have to make yourself feel less valid because somebody's experience is different than yours, or because you feel like that people aren't listening to you. Because what you're going through and what you're experiencing is valid. And it's not always necessarily a matter of whether or not your feelings are valid. Sometimes it's just a matter of the people you're talking to. If they're really not listening to you or taking you seriously, well, unfortunately, they don't always have your best interest. And it's best to, if you, as much as you can, try to be with people that do have your best interest and want you to get better. Because this is a very difficult journey for anybody, and it gets better. It just takes time and it takes patience. So if like today, if you're still struggling, just keep going, just keep trying. Take everything one day at a time, and within time, you will get to where you need to be. Even moving forward one step at a time is better than not moving at all, because at least if you're moving one step at a time, even if it's just one small step, you're still in motion, you're still moving, you're still going, and you're still making progress. Because even with that small little step, you're still a step farther than you were yesterday or the day before. So even if you just do one step every day, one little bit at a time, you'll get there. Just trust yourself, trust your feelings, trust your instinct. You have a gut instinct for a reason, and it's okay to listen to it even if others don't. So just keep hanging in there, and things will get better. Until next time, have a great day.